Yeah, sounds that can't be made is an odd thing to say, isn't it?
I kind of find it almost like throwing down the gauntlet. I mean, sounds that can't be made.
You carry me around like loose change, jingle, jangling.
This one has been a long time coming. Unlike most other albums we've made in the past, we've written for a bit and then been called away and gone on tour and then got back together and written a bit more and then been called away, and I mean some of us have made entire albums in the middle of this album.
Walking that unique birthday candle glow.
One of the things that happens with this band is it's a bit like an old vintage car, the whole creative process. It's like it takes a lot of getting going, you know, you crank the handle, just a lot of noise basically for 6 months. And then all of a sudden something happens and it's like a switch is thrown and this sort of creative magic starts.
The hardest part really is to not repeat yourself and try and reinvent yourself while keeping hold of what is essentially, you know, the greatness of what the five of us can bring together.
That's nothing.
I mean, the survival of Marillion as an entity is dependent on loads of things. It's having an amazing fan base, hopefully being relatively consistent in our output, but part of it is the internet and the way that's created this global community, and part of it is having this place. I mean, we've been here, we made every album since Afraid of Sunlight here.
We're very lucky, we're in a really privileged position. Everybody who comes into our studio says how lucky we are because we're surrounded by our own stuff. We're, you know, constantly hooked up to a recording studio that can record as many tracks as we throw at us.
A band tends to start out as a gang. You know, all the best bands are gangs at the beginning. So we went to real world to live together, to have that dynamic of being able to have dinner together at night and then open a bottle of wine and then go and make some more music, which is a luxury we can't really enjoy here because we always have to drive home.
He was quite safe. He was falling into Montreal. Into Montreal.
I mean, it's nice that this album has so much diversity on it. For a single album, because well, I say it's a single album because it's only got a few songs on it, but actually it's in terms of minutes, it's quite a long album.
It's not a concept album, so it's nice that the songs are very distinct. For me, in terms of what it's doing as a package, it feels more like Afraid of Sunlight, in that it's a collection of distinct songs that some are quite very different from each other, but all really strong in their own way.
It kind of reminded me of Afraid of Sunlight, just lots of very different kinds of songs. And that was really before Gaza appeared.
For me, I think the real point where I thought we've got an album now was when we wrote Gaza.
I do my very best to project myself into other human beings sometimes, and Gaza is an attempt to do that. Gaza is an attempt to project myself into the perspective of a child of a certain age. You know, it's a very potent piece of music. So there's a lot of anger in it, there's a lot of energy in it, and there's a lot of tragedy in it. and there's a lot of beauty in it too. So it's quite a mix.
It is. I think it's probably the highlight of the album.
What's great about what we do is that we all allow everybody the freedom to just, you know, come up with amazing stuff and really bring it to a place where none of our, you know, none of the individuals would have been able to take it there. And then we've got Mike as well, and Mike has been very involved in this album.
I can't really stress the importance of Mike in pulling all this together. I mean, he's nearly killed himself moving all of these ideas forward, and he's provided so many great ideas and bits of inspiration. It really has been a six guys, you know, been involved in making this record, not just 5.
I mean, one of the things that constantly surprises me, I probably said it with the last album, but it surprised me with this album, is that, you know, after 16 albums, we're working on the 17th album, and when we're jamming in a studio together, when something happens that excites us, it's all like the first time you've been in a band together. You know, it really is. Those special moments never go away. You know, there's lots of reasons why Marillion stayed together, but one of them is because when it's working, it's just the best thing in the world.
The artwork has become a bit of a big thing with the pre-order, where we always do this big book, and each time we try to, you know, go one better than the last time, and it gets harder to, you know, obviously to feel like you've moved it on. But I think the decision to use different artists for different songs, I think, was a really good one.
We try and bring the uniqueness of each song out of itself, and the artists are trying to do the same thing.
The front cover image, this photograph of this strange object, which is actually an object, a mathematical formula, and it's so incredibly photogenic.
I said to everyone at the beginning of this year that I think this is going to be a really special record.
We've gone somewhere else again, I think, with these songs. They're very interesting pieces of music.
I mean, it's nice that this album has so much diversity on it. Every song has very much its own identity, but is so strong that it doesn't need, you know, the tracks don't need to be married to anything else, because they're just so strong on their own.
Perhaps an example of the band having continued to mature. You know, we're all getting on, we're all becoming mature, so it's inevitable that the music's going to have to mature with us.
At the moment, the way I feel about the album is that it's quite diverse. It's I think from track to track, they're all very different, but there's something about the album as a whole that just feels really complete.
Well, it's deep, it's extremely emotive. I haven't met anyone yet who's listened to this collection of songs without shedding a tear.
I think people will definitely hear it's moved forward, in the sense that, starting with Gaza, I think that track will definitely make them go, wow, is this Marillion? You know, I think in some ways it's quite challenging musically and lyrically, but also I think it definitely, we're doing stuff that we haven't done before.
For me, what's great is that I still feel like we're moving forward and we're progressing, and that we're not just writing the same album every time. I really feel like we are, we're pushing ourselves.
It's been made with love and hope and honesty and integrity. Those are all the good things that people should be standing for.